good news and bad news.
Damn it!
So,
I give up.
our midterm is pushed back again.
No, not that bad.
The midterm is secretly today.
My idea for the lecture today was I was going to tell you some more stuff about latex, so we can. It's supposed to be pronounced latex. This is just but here's the thing. While I was trying to make up the slides for showing you how to do something in LaTeX, and the slides were in LaTeX,
Yeah.
I screwed them up, and I couldn't finish. So I have no slides to show you. So I'm hoping to do a live demo of this, and it'll work out.
Yeah.
I noticed I'm a little bit late today. That's because I was trying to figure out where this archetype was getting an error, and I could not figure out where it was coming from. Sometimes that happens in LaTeX. And then when you get to you finally figure out what it is, you kind of go, how did I miss that? Anyway, so we'll be doing that. The midterm is Friday. There is a sample test. The plan would be to cover that on Wednesday. So have a look at it beforehand. It's on Blackboard in the materials, course materials section. So yeah, let's see if we can do a live demo of using BibTeX. So thus far, I haven't cared too much about references. You may not need references for your movie paper, but eventually most papers end up having things that you need to quote something, and then you have to properly credit the author of that thing you quote. Or sometimes you just have material that needs to be included, and you don't want to make the claim that you were an expert in crocodilian dinosaurs.
Wait. So you're claiming that we're not experts?
Sorry?
So you're claiming that we're not experts?
Usually when you're writing, sometimes you can say, hey, I know this stuff, and so I'm a source, but that's pretty rare. Most of the time, you try to claim.
So I can say that I know physics stuff? Or I can assume that I've
Look, in a way, your words carry more weight if you say, this isn't just me talking. Here's these old white guys with beards.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but, I mean,
makes sense.
Maybe it could be an old white lady with slaves. That they show
It makes sense.
So when you can refer to some respected scholar as a source of your stuff you're saying, that's probably going to make your argument sound better. The funny thing is, if you go into critical thinking seriously, this is actually a famous error in critical thinking called the appeal to authority. We're saying, yeah, it's right because Plato said so. Well, Plato, may be respected, but he really didn't know everything. I want to rant if there's stuff.
That's why I hate every English course ever.
So if you were saying, if you had to take a guess, who probably knows more, us or Plato?
You by far. Right? I mean, in terms of the sciences, for instance, Plato thought that the world was made up of air, earth, fire, and something else.
Yes, earth, wind, and fire.
Apeiron is like the type of matter substance.
Okay.
It was going to be. No one knows what it is.
But they literally thought that the elements were these four things in Plato's time, and he espoused that theory. Now we know, hydrogen, helium, etc. They certainly had no notion of subatomic structure. They all know about electrons, protons, neutrons, quarks. He thought the Earth was at the center of the universe, not just the center of the solar system, right? The center of the universe. That's basic stuff we know better. He was a smart person. Given the information at hand, he had figured out a lot of stuff.
Plus, you knew nothing about Snapchat.
And so, and in that regard, each generation becomes wiser than the previous, right? I also know nothing about Snapchat.
Yeah, you're missing out on a lot. Let's make you a Snapchat.
So this is short video segments that you share with people?
Yeah. Out of context, it's either people just drinking, or short video segments of people puffing weed, or absolutely nothing at all with music.
I like go for the last one. All right, let's see if we can get in here and actually do a little demo about about BibTeX?
If you find a mistake, do you get any bonus points?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm always not very sure.
The problem was that I didn't make it. That's the problem.
That's a problem. I'm not sure if it's the problem. I just want to check and see if this camera is catching the video
Probably a good idea.
at all. Right, not at all.
Good.
I'm still
This is a little weird to show a video and then capture it with a video.
Videoception.
Probably some sort of philosophical issue right now. Okay, so let's go on CoCalc.
I wonder how you would look at the dog filter.
Probably adorable. Everyone looks adorable.
I look great. Quite literally a dog person. People, I mean, I have a freakish ability to befriend dogs. I love them. I mean, I walk past somebody who's got a dog on a leash, and the dog is like, I want to go with him. And I do like dogs, but it's sort of strange. All right, where are we? So the basic idea here for what we're going to do is to create a database. The database for your bibliographic entries is one that you can build up and use over and over and over again. So LaTeX is smart about only including the references that you actually use in your document. You're going to do the dog filter?
I was trying to get too far away.
Okay. So you're going to have what's called a bib file. That just means it ends, the extension on the end of it will be BIB. We'll refer to it with some other name, like, I don't know, references.bib, or something like that. The bib file contains database entries. But, so have you heard this term database before? The database is something like Access. I think is a common one people use on Windows machines. There are plenty of others. Usually databases are in some crazy formatted, like binary file systems, sort of type thing. And these are not going to be. These are going to be plain text. So while it's a database, it's not optimized for speed or anything, because it's doing a relatively simple job, just keeping track of it. Really hurt.
Oh, it meant the asset.
Broke your back. That's all right, perfect. The bib contains any database, but it is a plain text file. That is, if you look up the type of the file on Windows, like right-clicking on it, get information about the file, it'll tell you it's ASCII. So, ASCII data. So while I'm in here, let's actually skip out and we'll do this for example, because I'll show you the slide example.
Isn't ASCII how you make all these spaces?
ASCII art.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I bet you that. I'm just going to pick an entry here and I'm just going to very nice. How about sample bibliography? That's what I wanted. Cool. So it's a little small, isn't it? That's a kind of a funny joke. So this is a BibTeX file. It only has 2 entries in it, so this is a real small bibliography. But you see how it's formatted. These things start with a @ sign, and it tells you what kind of thing it is. We have an @ article, right? You could have an @ book. You could have at report. There's literally dozens of things. One thing you can get is at personal communication. You know, I just got on the phone with Aristotle and he told me this stuff. And that's kind of a good feat, by the way, for getting in, you know, getting the gravitas of somebody important to refer to, but just saying it was a conversation. Because I know, I talked to the big guy. Anyway, do you like the joke in the author's name of the first one?
Yes. Second one's pretty
Really
good.
Really Spell icon.
So what?
Spell icon.
Oh yeah, that's always a good one. I always heard it was Mother May I and then spell out.
Oh, gross. Come on.
Okay, stop it. So what do we have? Well, look, there is a lot of entries here. These are not all the entries that are available to you. So you may have lots of different pieces of information about a thing. For instance, one thing that I use fairly frequently is an in collection style. So start with at in collection. Now that means that you're talking about one article or report in a big collection of things. You'd like to tell people where it is in there. So pages is a database entry that you can have.
I did this similar to when I did the newspaper. I would get like 2 minutes.
You don't need to. Okay, so lots. I mean, these all have. What you need as at a minimum is the author and the title. Really, that's it. If you can at all, put the year in. Right. So this is just meant to be meant to empower somebody else to go find this thing in their library if they want to. That's the main point. And usually with title and author, that's going to be enough these days. People used to be a lot more serious-minded about making really good bibliographies, so then some of the other issues, the other entries in a database item would be more important. But title and author is enough. Now, do you see what comes immediately after the at article? There's an open brace and then the word small. That is what you are using as the author to refer to this thing. So that's what's known as the key for this database entry. And the second entry in this database is big. So you see that those are named in a way the person remembers what they're about. There's the small entry and there's the big entry. What would we have for things like we might have a picture, or so you want to make that key something that is meaningful to you, but keep it short because you may have to type it a few times. So small and bigger. Yeah, right. That's exactly it. This is the contents of the bibliography entries. But there's 2 things that have to happen. One is you have to put your citations in the paper somewhere, and that'll refer to that key. And the other thing is you have to actually get the references section at the end of the paper in here. And that'll happen by referring actually to the name of this file.
So if we have like an article or something and we don't have, if there's no volume, would you just not put volume?
That's right, just leave it out. Yeah. Like for instance, do you see the second one? There's no volume in this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there is. But if it wasn't there, okay. So yeah, if an entry is meaningless for that type of thing, leave it out. You can Google around, I'm sure, and find that there's, I think for any one of these types, there's usually about 15 possible entries. So these are not complete by any means.
So we'll be submitting the bid file with the latex file?
You don't usually submit the latex file either. So what I want is the finished PDF. Right? Actually, this is great because let's take a look at this person's main file. No, this is LaTeX. Oops. This is for LaTeX. Okay, so you've seen a lot of this stuff before, right? The document style, article, /begin document. These are things that refer to some of the entries in their thing, and they're saying that they don't want to make a citation for those particular things. I don't know why. But let me just point to somewhere here in the middle of the document. See where you say cite sh:1.
SH would be the key to one of the entries in that person's bibliography database. And I don't know, maybe it's SH:1 is the key. We should probably look at it. There's another place where they make a citation/cite and then the key. Now, so that's how you refer to any of the entries in your database file. Then you have to actually get LaTeX to process everything and print the references at the bottom of the page, or almost on the new page with all the references in it. And there's two parts to that. One is to tell it what style you want. For you guys, the style I would like you to use is APA-like. It's not the American Philosophical Association. Anybody know what APA is?
Psychological, I believe.
Psychological?
It's
Well, use APA-like. This is not exactly APA, but it's similar and works well for math things. This means that when you put the symbol that appears in the page when you put a citation in, a lot of times in math they just have brackets around a number for that citation, which is often really confusing. You have to literally go back to the back of the article and find out what the hell is number 37. You know, so APA style, it puts a little shortened version of the author name in there. And I think that's more useful. So that is the references will look like, if you have me, and there would be something like that. Or there might be that and a year, if there's two of them. So usually it's a 3-letter abbreviation of the author's name followed by a date or a year. So yeah, that's what you would put where they have. I guess that's probably unsorted. Another style, if you want to go with something that's very mathy, is the IEEE transactions style. IEE. Three E's. This is my favorite for you guys, but that's a good style too. And these styles not only affect how the citations get written in the paper, they affect how it's printed out at the end. You notice the thing we were looking at a second ago, the bibliography database, there's no implied order on those things. All the things that are in that database are a sort of a key and a value associated with it. So there's an author and the author's name, there's a title, and then the actual title of the thing. There's no way to say there's the first thing and the second thing. With bibliography styles like APA or IEEE, they specify that. And so that's cool because the machine knows how to do it. It'll take your bibliography database and convert it to the correct style. So anyway, that's just telling it about the style. This one right here is actually what creates the bibliography. And you'll notice it happens often that you may have more than one of those databases to use. You may have, in this case, there's a database called ListB, and there's another one called MyBib. If we bump out of this and look at the files, you'll see. ListB.bib, there it is. Wow. There's a whole lot of ugly stuff up in here. Don't ever do this. This is bad programming. Just as a computer geek, this makes me angry. You shouldn't have to do that kind of stuff in your files. Yeah, it's so just ignore that. But look, here's one of our things. That article, SH:1. It was the key was SH:1. I don't know why. Maybe because there was an SH2. There's two different papers by Sheila Sheridan-Zahara. Isn't the author of this whole section? He or she is. She is referred to, he or she is referred to all their own papers.
Wow.
Now that actual article we were just looking at didn't have all of these referred to, right? Just a few that she, I keep saying she because it starts with the name Sheila. I don't know if that's a man's or a woman's name. I'm not really conversant with Israeli names. Plus, I think that's a last name.
Yes.
So what if
Can we
it-
just agree this is a female and I won't
what
make
if
it
they're
clear?
agender?
Could be that too. I didn't should assume.
Yeah.
Wow. This person has a lot of papers out there. Okay, I think this might be a joke. Paul Erdos. Have you heard of that? So,
Is he from Tekken?
he's from everywhere. Paul Erdos was born in like the teens or 20s, and he lived a long, long time. I think he died in the mid-90s. He traveled all around the world, and he would just like show up at universities and say, well, I'm here. Who wants to work with me? And people would be, I do. Because this guy put out like 100 papers every year. He was so prolific, it was crazy. He has so many collaborators that it has become a game now to see how closely connected you are to Paul Erdos. You ever play the, what's it called, 5 Degrees of Kevin Bacon game? Yeah? There's this thing called your Erdos number, which is if you've wrote a paper with Erdos, I guess if you're Erdos, your number is 0. If you've written a paper with Erdos, your number is 1. And then if you've written a paper with somebody who's written a paper, you're 2. So this guy or girl is claiming to have Erdos number 1, which is pretty rare.
What's your Ernest number?
Mine is 2.
Really?
I'm a 2.
Wasn't
But that's
my-
a freak thing. My PhD advisor happened to write something with Erdos when she was a young woman.
What's my expected hero's number?
3.
3?
Well,
Oh, that's good.
This is how I get collaborators and tell them I can bump their Erdos number. So actually, this is sort of interesting. You start seeing some of the other fields that can go in here. There's the author thing. There's a true author. What do you suppose is meant by that? There are occasionally people who write under pseudonyms. There's a famous one is Bourbaki. Nicolas Bourbaki is not an actual person. There's like 7 French mathematicians who use that pseudonym for their stuff. So you've got your author and then your true author. This one is in collection, so there's the collected title, but then the title of the article. There's these codes that the American Math Society, which AMS stands for, uses to identify the different subject areas in math. So you can have an AMS subject code. Lots of other stuff. This means the paper has been reviewed online. You can go to the Math Reviews site and look it up and see what the reviewer thought of the paper.
Could my pseudo name be Oiler? Like oil? ER here?
Yes, so that's just freaking me out that this person may be somebody who's got an order with an Erdos number of 1 and I don't know who they are. So in the paper we had list B and then we had my bid. That was the one with IP Freely and there's another joke name here. Yeah, that's funny stuff, I gotta say.
Whoa. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, okay, so that's not bad. So maybe we can see if we can,
Are you gonna post this?
yes. My slides are broken right now, but when I get them fixed sometime today, I'll post it. I was just thinking we should try to create a thing on CodeCount with this content in it. Go for it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is this all going to be like separate, or do you want this all in the same file?
There's 2 files, okay, that you create. There's your regular file, and then there's this database file. And then when LaTeX runs it, and there's another command that we'll learn in a second, that a lot of other files get constructed by it. But the things you need to deal with are the one that ends in .tech and the one that ends in .bib. And there's a reason for separating it like this. The .bib file can get reused. And you may end up using just one .bib for all your papers during the term. In fact, for your papers for the next several years. Might not all come out at one time. You slowly kind of add pieces to it that you need.
The reason why I've seen that is when I made a similar document file, I was all in one file and separated it. So I don't know, maybe I use a different one.
Maybe it's a different thing, because BibTeX is always a separate database file, and then it creates the bibliography file when you run it. I want to make something called sample. Now, I just noticed that the thing that I just stole used a different initial line. It said document style rather than document class. There was 15, 20 years ago, there was a switch over from what was originally just called LaTeX to the new system, which is LaTeX 2. But now LaTeX 2 has been around for so long, everybody's gotten used to it. That's just called LaTeX. So that's an anachronism. That's what I'm trying to get at. We don't need to have a document style. The document class is the same thing. But really, all this other stuff should be fine. I'm going to take out the no sites. Let's see if it'll run it.
You have 2 documents.
Oops, we don't want that. Well, actually, it won't matter because once you hit one of them, it thinks it's done. Okay, so what just happened is I ran tech on the thing, and it went looking for list B in my div. It did not find them. Okay. So it complained. It said 4 issues, yeah. And furthermore, do you see how the references look in the thing? They just put square braces in, but there's a question mark in there, just meaning something's wrong. So what do we need? We actually need to just upload those files that we're interested in into our here of our project. So shall I make new ones or shall I do this? I'm going to do this the usual way. Save my classes. I'm going to put it on desktop so I can be sure to find it. Find it. The ability to just drop, drag and drop files. So let's see if we can pull that. Take this B and put it in there. Awesome. So those things are now part of our world. And if I run LaTeX, it probably is to be broken. Oh, I clicked on the wrong thing. Yeah, so it's still broken. So what's the problem? There's an intermediate stage in another program that has to be run, and I don't think that CodeCalc has set this up for us, and that's unfortunate. But we're going to have to open a terminal and just issue the command line stuff. So, yeah, so we're going to go here. So yeah, there's a lot of different options for a new thing. What I'm looking for, maybe you guys can see it from this one. This is terminal. Oh, there. So this is where you can actually just get like a. This is, I think, more and more a foreign thing for people that have been used to computers their whole lives. Almost everything happens as a graphical interface for you guys. This is what I kind of learned about you came up to a screen and there was a little blinking green thing, and it was waiting for you to type and tell the computer what to do.
So this is like command prompt.
This is like what?
Command prompt.
A command prompt, exactly. This is a command prompt in Windows, if you've seen that before. The commands here are Linux, or basically Unix. So there aren't a lot of things that we need to learn about here. That one, ls, tells it to list the things that are in your working directory where you happen to be living right now. And what do we see in? We got our sample bibs.pdf file, but that's the one that has the errors in it. The thing that we created was samplebibs.tech. There it is. But this other stuff in here was all created by LaTeX as it ran. One of these files is an aux file. There it is, samplebibs.aux. And that has the information about what citations we were requesting. That has to be there first. So if you first do this, do what I've done just now. Run LaTeX, see that it comes out with errors, and then run BibTeX.
If it automatically creates the file, why doesn't it know to run that first? Okay, never mind.
No, that's a good question. It actually could have been designed that way. The person who designed this whole setup is Donald Knuth at Stanford. He's, I think, the most respected computer scientist in the world, and he's like one of the top 20 mathematicians in the world. And I bet you there's a good reason, but it might just be that he likes that. He didn't want it to be automatic, and for some reason that he occasionally might want to do something that it's easier when it's not automatic. I'm having a hard time seeing why it wouldn't make sense to just have it manual. All right, so we want to run sample. Oops, that's not right. Yes. Yeah, I found it. So when I ran the bibtech command, it went through and told me what version it is and found the aux file. And remember I said this contains the information about what citations in our databases we're going to need. It found the style. We left that style as unsorted. Then it found the database files, and it didn't complain about anything. So I think everything's good to go. Which means we should now be able to go back to our sample bibs file. And I don't know if I need to save just to preview it.
I had like one thing and then fix it.
I really wish there was a button that says run. That would be actually. Okay.
This build works.
Oh, build. That sounds like running. Now that build is getting me information about how to build. Okay, we still have a problem. No, we don't. It just took long enough to. Okay, so that's how it looks. So, I mean, this is obviously just a sample. The paper's a little brief. There's some proofs see below, and there's nothing below. But we've got first paper, 1, and second, and somebody else's first paper, 2, and they're referred to here and here, and you see that we've got appropriate information about their stuff. Let me go back to the tech file and make a change. I don't like that unsort. Let me show you what IEEE style looks like. I think it's done, and there's hardly any difference. Okay, so maybe we don't want to see IEEE. So how about the other one I mentioned, APA button? There we go. So now, the references are more like you see in ordinary scholarly papers outside of math, the author's name, and then, oh, actually, that's interesting. They're giving full names here. I thought APA was a 3-letter abbreviation. Huh? Oh, that's MLA. Okay. See, I don't know that stuff because I always use the IEEE-TR. But some of the beauty of this is all that anal retentive, getting your citation stuff exactly right factor, that's gone for you to use this. It just handles as long as you use the right style in there. I wonder if they have MLA. Just, this is total curiosity. I have no idea what those are.
MLA like. Let's try it.
Do you think it should be MLA or MLA like?
MLA like.
We're getting errors. How about MLA? I don't like that one either.
Sorta MLA like.
But APA like we're getting. Now my curiosity is, I just want to see if we can find that. MLA format. FoodTech-MLA. Okay. Oh, and somebody's continuing development of the use of well, anyway. That was just curiosity, I wanted to see. So if I told you the basic elements we need, we'll create a database file with engine.bib, the entries. I usually go find an entry online and copy and paste and then change things. That's the quick way to get at it. Make sure that you run tech first, or LaTeX first, then run BibTeX, then come back and run LaTeX again. It's a iterative procedure that probably could be fixed, maybe should be fixed. That's the way it works. And I'm going to communicate with William Stein, who's the head of the Lookout company, we're buddies, and he's usually pretty responsive. So there should be a way to do BibTeX from that interface rather than from the having to go to a command line. Probably not time to help you guys. They're pretty good at getting new features in quickly.
So you know people who know people.
I'm connected.
That's the Airflow number of like 2. It's amazing.
No, Stein and I actually looked up because we were in a joint math meeting, and he had a skateboard, and I was like, dude, let me try that. And he's a really stunt skateboard rider. I don't believe it. He's nearly my age. He's really good. Do handstands on the board and stuff.
So make me well connected.
Yeah, come to the joint math meetings this December, January.
I'll be there.
Is somebody in the math club going? You?
I'll go.
It's in San Diego.
San Diego. I guess I'm not going.
Well, the math club does get travel funds for things like this, so I don't know how many people we can afford to send out. Has that been discussed yet?
I think we can.
I know people in San Diego, that's why.
Oh, you can go out there and stay with friends?
I don't think
We have, this has happened in the past. I have photographic evidence of like 5 or 6 math club students at the San Diego Zoo. Not in a math conference at the moment. You know, while we were there.
What's the math conference like?
It's just, you know, it's amazing. It's like
just geeks.
1,000, 2,000 other nerds. We sometimes play this game, Mathematician or Homeless, and you get points.
That's a surprisingly difficult game.
Yeah, we're running out of time. So, okay. On Wednesday, we're going to be covering the sample exam. That's on already. I think I'm going to actually add a few other sample questions to that, because I put 10 questions on. There's other things I might try. Like this one has the Euclidean algorithm, but it doesn't have the Sigma Veritas. But I decided not to do writing on this exam. I think we're doing plenty of writing in other places. So somebody was worried about getting a writing prompt ahead of time. After the exam on Friday, the following week, we are going to begin Renaissance era. So we're skipping over almost 1,000 years. It leaves out the Islamic Golden Age. It leaves out the invention of zero.
Isn't that kind of important?
Kind of important, but nobody has any details about when and how or what, who. So, I mean, it'll be kind of cool. We get to the 1400s and the Hindu Arabic numerals are there and we've got zero now. But nobody quite knows when that innovation really happened. It definitely happened in India. I mean, we know that was sort of a Hindu innovation, except for the Arabs who said, no, it happened here. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's not a lot to say there because there's little certainty about what the facts are. So the one person I want to say something about in that interregnum between the Greek Golden Age and the beginning of the Renaissance in Italy is Alcavarismi, whose name got turned into the word algorithm here. So, but other than that, prepare for sort of a time shock. We go from